My name is David Geist. I was a family friend of the Hunt household between mid 70s and the late 80s. Spent a lot of time down there at their house and got to know the Hunts pretty well. I was there almost every day. Adam and I were best friends. We did a lot together and caused a lot of problems, but shared a lot of neat experiences. I got to know Dae Hunt pretty well on a daily basis, on mostly on a mothering type of relationship, and she did a lot of great things. You could tell that she was very proud of her house. She was very proud of her kids, and she was a person that didn't take no for an answer very well. You could tell her determination in a lot of things, especially just raising your kids, but also, trying out things that, be very difficult for a lot of people to do. I think one, for example, was basket weaving. She got into that. I think she started a cleaning company all by herself. And just starting a company was, pretty tough to do. And she did those things. So she was very outgoing. She didn't take no for an answer. Really took a lot of pride in who she was and her family. One story that really stands out to me was the first time I was invited over for a dinner for the Hunt house. They had a fried mullet dinner. I was not sure how to eat fried mullet, and she decided to show me by grabbing a mullet by the head and putting the tail in her mouth and ripping the tail off the mullet and showing me how to eat fried mullet. Just by that experience, I think I started to cry until Adam started laughing at me. And then I knew it was, she was really into having fun, entertaining, and showing a lot of love to pretty much everybody in the house. Sad to see her go. I did get to say hi to her a couple years ago and brought my children, and it was a special moment for me. But she'll be greatly missed and was a great woman. And I hope this message brings her joy and hopefully her family. Thank you.
Growing up in Indian Harbor Beach, it was the safest place on earth, and my mother was the best mother. Growing up, she loved deep sea fishing. She loved adventure. She loved to laugh, especially at super inappropriate humor. That's a key, a really inappropriate humor. There's a picture that I'm putting up on screen here where we spent our summers in the Bahamas. And it was the most fascinating thing as a kid, because you meet all these characters, and these characters are just larger than life. And there were these people were named like Crispin and Graham and Shorty, and then there was even this guy on this big boat at the end of the dock that everybody called the Bear. And when you're that little, these things are huge to you. And one day I was telling my wife about spending my summers in the Bahamas, and she said, are they good memories? And I said, no. They were grand. So, on the day that my mother passed away, she had checked into the hospital on a Friday night, and they called me, and I came up on Saturday. And clearly, she was, they had fully incubated her, put her on life support, and she was struggling, right? So either her blood pressure was up, or her pulse was down, or vice versa. And she spent most of the day sort of going back and forth between these states. And I'll never forget, like, sitting in that room, how loud everything was. These alarms were going off. There's just doctors coming in and out with lights and everything. And so finally, towards the end of the day, we'd made the decision to just take her off life support. She wouldn't have wanted that. And so I'd asked the doctors, I was like, hey, can you guys just do me a favor and just get rid of all this crap? Let's take her off life support. And thank gosh, at this moment that I was there, that Dorothy was there with us. Now, as my mother got older, I would say that she did not have a lot of super close friends, right? But Dorothy ended up becoming very important to my mother. So when they finally unplugged everything, Dorothy and I sat there and we held her hand, and I told Dorothy stories about what a little hellion I was, and we sat there and we laughed. And Dorothy told me about how stubborn my mother was at times, and we just held her hand, and it was genuinely one of the most peaceful passings that I've ever been or have ever seen. I mention all this because Dorothy absolutely was a godsend coming into my mother's life. And from the time that Dorothy did enter into playing a role with my parents, she brought my mother just a little bit more happiness. So Dorothy, I wanted to say thank you for that. So this is something that not a lot of people in my family like to talk about, but in the 80s, my mother had a near-death experience. Jackie Gleason, the movie star, almost killed my mother. And let me explain to you what happened. So my mother had gone through a cosmetic surgery in the 80s that they called a tummy tuck. Now this is back before they knew how to do cosmetic surgery, so they were just like, well, let's just get some dull rocks and some rusty knives and just cut everything off, right? So my mother goes in for this cosmetic surgery, comes out, she's laying in bed for like 3 weeks, and they've given her this mesh body net thing that sort of just keeps it all in, and so she's been upstairs all this time. She finally comes downstairs, and we're all sitting around and we're watching the movie Smokey and the Bandit, okay? So my mother comes downstairs, her hair's all matted, and she's walking all slow. And by the way, this mesh thing that she's in, she's completely nude, right? So, I got that floating around in my head, right? She comes downstairs, she stares at the television and takes one look at Jackie Gleason. There's a scene in this movie that's going to play right now where Jackie Gleason comes walking out of the bathroom with toilet paper hanging off of him. My mother burst into laughter, so much so that she sort of doubled over and literally almost died from watching Jackie Gleason and Smokey and the Bandit.
L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love. Is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you. L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is even more than anyone that you adore can love. Is all that I can give to you. Love is more than just a game for two. Two in love can make it. Take my heart and please don't break it. Love was made for me and you.
So one of the things that was funny about my mother was she had this wicked sense of humor. And this infectious laugh and all these things. And okay, so this one time, I broke my big toe. And so at this point I was probably 10 or 11 years old. And there's only two things that are super important to a kid that age. Television, right? And baseball. So I broke this big toe. I go to the doctor and they don't give me a cast, but they give me this big, like it looks like an orthopedic boot in a way, and actually it looks like a man's like Bostonian dress shoe for the most part, right? This big, hard-soled brown shoe. So the problem is that I have a Little League game that night, and my mother convinces me that no, you still have to go to the game. And every gut instinct that I had as a kid, I was like, nope, don't want to go to that game, right? Mother convinces me, you have to go. So I show up and I'm wearing my Vikings outfit and I have on my left foot a Nike cleat. And then on my right foot, this big, thick-soled brown orthopedic shoe. Now, before we go, my mother says, no. The kids, they won't even notice. Nobody's gonna make fun of it. Every gut instinct that I had said not to go to this thing. Kids will make fun of this. So we pull up to the Little League place and we open the door. And as soon as I step out, this kid who's a team member walks up and he goes, the kid starts dying, right? Because here's the thing, is that when you're 10 and you see a guy get out in a brand new clean uniform and he's got two shoes that don't match, that literally is the funniest thing that kid's ever seen in his entire life. So, when I think about that story now, even as an adult, still not that funny. But if my mother were in the room right now, she would cover her face laughing. She literally got a solid 30 years of humor out of that one particular childhood story.
You're a falling star, you're the getaway car, you're the line in the sand when I go too far. You're the swimming pool on an August day, and you're the perfect thing to say. And you play it coy, but it's kinda cute. Oh, when you smile at me, you know exactly what you do. Baby, don't pretend that you don't know it's true, 'cause you can see it when I look at you. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you You're every word, you're everything. You're a carousel, you're a wishing well, and you light me up when you ring my bell. You're a mystery, you're from outer space, you're every minute of my everyday. And I can't believe that I'm your man, and I get to kiss you, baby, just because I can. Whatever comes our way, I will see it through. And you know that's what our love can do. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you, you make me sing. You're every line, you're every word, you're everything. And in this crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you, you make me sing. You're every line, you're every word, you're everything. You're every song, and I sing along, 'cause you're my everything. Yeah, yeah. So la 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 la. So la 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 la. You're a carousel, you're a whistle well, and you light me up when you ring my bell.
Get excited, Maddie.
You're a mystery, you're from outer space, you're every minute, you're every day. And I can't believe that I'm your man, and I get to kiss you, baby, just because I can. Whatever comes our way,
You are in control.
you know.
Remember we talked about knife throwing lessons? I've actually been taking some. I can actually stick this right into the planter. Seriously,
You're every line, you're every word, you're everything.
So this last segment, we're going to end Dae's tribute on. It's only about 40 seconds of video, and the truth is I got to know my mom when she was getting older. She hated getting older. She would look in the mirror and go, "I don't know what happened," and she would say, "Somehow I still feel like a kid again, but I'm in this older body." And she would like stare in the mirror and just be like, "I never thought I would live this long," right? So my uncle sent me a DVD of some home movies, and in the very back was this beautiful 30, maybe 40 seconds of my mother sitting at an outside cafe somewhere, eating lunch. And honestly, the moment I saw it, I felt like I was looking at an Italian movie star. So we're going to end on this, and I'm pretty certain that this is how she'd want to be remembered.